1993, a U.S. Navy submarine fell into a time loop. Where did it end up, and what happened to the crew? Time loops are mysterious temporal anomalies in which there is both a complete stop of time and its forced slowdown. Occasionally, eyewitnesses report repetitive activities within the anomaly. Until now, time loops have not been recognized by academic scientists, but in recent years, more and more researchers are paying attention to the fact that under certain conditions, time can stretch or accelerate, so theoretical time loops may very well turn out to be true. The most interesting case of falling into such an anomaly was described in 1993. The U.S. Navy submarine served in the Sargasso Sea, carrying out normal services, being at that moment at the depth of 65 meters. That's about 180 feet down. Everything was running smoothly, while at the same time, two destroyers were on the surface of the water, which tracked the route of the submarine on their radars. Suddenly, the submarine disappeared from them. Any inquiries did not reach the addressee, and accordingly, there were no responses to numerous attempts to contact the crew of that submarine. A few hours later, the captain of the submarine gave a signal from the side. His voice was hoarse, and it was not immediately clear who was speaking. It turned out that the submarine somehow sailed for more than 5,500 kilometers in a short period of time and surfaced in the Indian Ocean. At the same time, messages from the submarine contained information about the poor health of the entire crew. Several rescue ships from Germany, the USA, and Australia urgently moved to the specified area. The divers, dumbfounded by what had happened, simply did not know what was going on. According to them, all the equipment turned off, and there was a feeling that the submarine began to sink to the bottom of the ocean. This action lasted for several hours, after which everything turned on again, only the submarine was 5,500 kilometers from the place of deployment. Here's what the captain of the submarine wrote in a report from a secret Pentagon document about what happened. Quote, "Suddenly our boat began to vibrate strongly, and the experts could not establish the cause of this strange state, and it lasted no more than a minute, and then everything calmed down. And then, according to the instruments, it turned out that we were no longer in the Sargasso Sea, but about 150 kilometers from Africa in the Indian Ocean. I immediately contacted the command by radio and asked for permission to call in Kuwait, the nearest port in the area. It turns out that in a minute we covered more than 3,000 miles. That's just incredible," end quote. All the people on board the submarine were malnourished, and further medical tests indicate premature aging, moreover accelerated hundreds of times. During these hours, the submariners have aged 15 to 20 years. While they were being delivered to Germany, the aging process continued, and most of the sailors died during transportation. The cause of death was malnutrition and multiple organ failure. The further fate of the rest of the crew is unknown, as journalists managed to find out from the words of one of the employees of this German research center. The men quickly gave up. They had wrinkles, gray hair, decrepit muscles, decreased vision. That is, there were all signs of aging. In 1993, the largest publications in the United States, Britain, Germany, and France wrote articles about this incident. 3 months later, the article was published in the same publications, an exposure where the whole story was branded fake, quote unquote. Someone thought that the incident did not really happen, and everything described was someone's imaginable story. Others argue that this was the classic situation of falling into a time loop. What actually caused such teleportation and the sharp aging of the submarine personnel? For some, there is a clear effect of the temporary anomaly. There are a lot of them on our planet. The modern structure of the solar system would be impossible without time loops. The described case is similar to the marginal effect, quote unquote, of selective influences of a reasonable anomalous zone. The inhabitants of the Eskimo village of Angikuni disappeared in 1930, and their dogs died of exhaustion. After 63 years, we can make a comparison between the US submariners and the Angie Cooney dogs. The leadership understood this, and the case was classified as fakes. Many inexplicable facts are either hushed up or declared fake, so it's very hard to figure out the whole truth. It seems that this is a conscious policy of the governing structures to keep silent or to present as unreliable all the information that cannot be explained by modern science at this stage of human development. In some cases, time shifts are barely noticeable, and without equipment it's impossible to detect them. In this incident, there was a sharp acceleration of time at the biological level. This is on SoulAsk. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.